In this video, I'll go over the 4 reasons why real estate is magical and can build your wealth much easier and faster than any other investment vehicles. Throughout the video, I will give you some insider secrets on how real estate investors actually make their wealth, being a real estate investor myself. Hi, my name is Ryan Chaw, your friendly neighborhood real estate investor, and I show new investors how to get their first profitable deal. Now let's start off by talking about the first and most important reason to buy real estate. And that's because it meets a very basic human need, which is shelter. This is what keeps your real estate investment safe and secure because there will always be people needing housing. When my grandpa immigrated from China to the United States, he had hardly any money in his pocket and no house. He had to work very hard as a draftsman in the US Army. He saved up and eventually had enough money to buy a San Francisco Bay Area property, when properties were much cheaper than they are now, back in 1950. Unfortunately, back then, there was also a lot of prejudice against the Chinese in San Francisco. So he had a lot of doors slammed right in his face. Finally, he found a seller whom his wife convinced to sell the property to them so that they could raise a family. I'm glad they were able to find that seller because that's why I exist today. Realizing that housing is a basic human need, my grandpa reinvested into more properties and was able to help create our family's generational wealth by helping cover some of my brothers and my college tuition, something I don't take for granted. Eventually, when he passed at 93 years old, he passed on that property to my parents. And by then, it had gone up from $100,000 to multiple 7 figures. What's even more is that he had the property fully rented out at all times because there were so many workers who needed lodging when moving to San Francisco. Unlike trends and fads such as Pet Rock, Kodak, or Blockbuster, remember those? People will always need a place to stay when they move to a new city. Okay, now it's time for some real estate magic. I'm going to talk about a very cool tool that real estate investors use to build up a majority of their real estate wealth. And this tool, which is the second biggest reason you should buy real estate, is called leverage. Leverage means using a small amount of your own money and borrowing the rest of it to control a much larger asset. For example, let's say you're buying a $200,000 property and you're putting a 20% down payment on it. That means this is only $40,000 that you're putting in, and the bank is financing the other $160,000. Now, the great thing about real estate is that property prices typically go up at least 3% per year. So let's take 3% of $200,000, which is $6,000. But here's the magic of real estate. If you take that $6,000 and divide by your down payment of $40,000, you actually get a 15% return on your investment. So, even though the property went up only 3% annually, you get to make an annual return of 15% on your investment. If that's not super awesome amazing, then I don't know what is. Well, maybe getting a free Tesla from Elon Musk. That would be super awesome amazing in my book as well. Elon, if you're out there and have some spare Teslas, please hit me up. Just kidding. Now that we have established that real estate is indeed magical, let's go over the third reason to buy real estate as soon as possible. That is, you get to have complete control over your asset. So, in 2021, like everyone else, I invested heavily in the stock market. I used this strategy called option trading, and I made a cool $43,000. However, as we got into 2022, all of a sudden there was this huge crash, and I lost about $30,000 of my gain. This was a slap in the face. Basically, the world telling me, hey Ryan, you actually don't have as much control over how a company performs as you may think. Now, don't get me wrong. Investing steadily in the stock market, especially in index funds, can give you an annual return of about 7 to 10%. The only issue is that you technically have no control over the peaks and crashes and how well a company does. And you're also essentially capped at a 10% annual return on average. Versus real estate, there really is no cap. For example, if you get a real estate deal that you are able to not put in any of your own money into it, which is very possible if you, for example, refinanced your cash out of it, you basically have infinite returns. Plus, you get to decide your own destiny. Your success is pretty much entirely dependent on finding a great deal and how well you manage it with great systems and teams. Plus, if you do sell your property, you can renovate it before you sell it to increase the property's value. So for those control freaks out there, admittedly, I'm kind of one myself. You will love real estate investing because you get to call the shots, not some random CEO of a company. Now, the final magical element of real estate investing, and also the fourth reason to buy real estate as soon as possible, is because there are enormous tax breaks that the IRS gives you. The first and biggest tax break that you can get is called depreciation, also known as a phantom deduction. It's called a phantom deduction because it doesn't actually physically exist, though maybe it exists in the multiverse. Anyways, all jokes aside, let me explain. So let's say you have a brand new car. Over time, the car may get some scratches, the paint might fade, it has some general wear and tear, and it therefore loses value when you resell it. It depreciates in value. Now, the cool part is the IRS assumes that a house also has this wear and tear and therefore loses value over time. So they allow you to deduct a certain amount each year from your rental income, and you don't need to pay taxes on that deduction. However, in reality, we all know that houses go up in value rather than down. That's why depreciation doesn't actually exist. Now, to calculate depreciation, you take the total cost of the property, subtract out the land value, and divide that by 27.5 years. Now, I know that might sound as clear as mud, so let's just go through this one step at a time. The 27.5 years is the assumed life expectancy of a house. So let's say I buy a $350,000 property and the land value is $75,000. Using nice round numbers, we will subtract the $75,000 land value from the $350,000 property price, which gives us $275,000. Finally, dividing this number by 27.5 years gives you about $10,000 per year, which you can deduct every year to pay less taxes. So the first $10,000 in profit every year that you make, you don't have to pay any taxes on. Pretty cool, right? You also have a lot of other deductions, such as the mileage you incur when you visit the house, the mortgage interest, phone and internet bill if you use it to contact your tenants, any repairs, and travel expenses. And now, I hate to say that vacations are tax deductible because the IRS might come after me. But the truth is, if you visit a property that you own or are likely going to purchase, you can deduct your plane flight as well as your hotel and meals. At the end of the day, after you look at your houses, you can go sightseeing or check out that city. That way, you can also include leisure in your business trips, aka a vacation. You can see here, when I traveled to Ohio to purchase houses, I also had time to check out the A Christmas Story house with my uncle. That's the one where the dad says, "You'll shoot your eye out, kid." You know, the Red Ryder BB gun? It's kind of an older movie, so it's okay if you haven't watched it. Anyways, here are some super nice houses that I was able to see along with some of the city sights. And we also handed out free ice cream to students as part of our marketing to get tenants into our house. Now, the best part of this trip is, yes, you guessed it, it is tax deductible as long as it is an ordinary and necessary part of your business. Well, I hope this was an amazing video for you and that you got a lot out of it. If you want to build up more knowledge about real estate investing and get your first deal, you can subscribe and give this video a thumbs up so that you get updates whenever I post a new video. Also, please share it so that I can reach more people who are struggling to get started in real estate investing. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you.